Boruto has changed from being extremely rude with Kashin Koji to low-key threatening his new ally. He's acting more like Momoshiki just one chapter after their infamous deal, and what this means for his legacy is totally shocking. Meanwhile, Shikamaru and everyone who helped him have ran into trouble in Konoha. This might include Kawaki, who also came in contact with him, and by the looks of it, the brutal shinobi leaders might get killed by the Red Karma wielder, marking his first step towards ninja hatred. All of this is happening when Mamushi is just a week away from raiding Konoha, and what's even worse is that Sarada and Daemon are now trapped in a conflict. Chapter 26 was one of the most engaging chapters lately. It showed us how Ikimoto seamlessly integrated some of the side characters in the plot to give them some well-deserved development, even though a lot of people were missing like Kawaki, Amado and Himawari after the first panel. This installment still felt complete. I would say far better than the last one, which I didn't even enjoy dissecting due to the whole boring Sarada and Sumire dynamic. But the way it paid off in this chapter was unexpected as well as remarkable. I would still suggest to not get your hopes too high, as Daemon will not fight Sarada for some obvious reasons, and it's even evident in one of the futures that Koji saw with prescience. Also, this might be the first time since chapter 78 of part 1 when we got a hint for the downfall of the shinobi system, and I must say Kawaki's actions from the prologue feel justified based on what was revealed in this chapter. Well, more on that later. So the chapter has featured Momoshiki on the cover, and I must say that Ikimoto never fails to make him shine on the front page. If you pay some attention, you will notice that the Rinnegan on his hands have went from red to silver, and while it could be just an artistic choice, meaning this color palette was specifically used for this cover page, it would be cool if it was a representation of how his body has been reacting to the parasitic light. Well, the chapter goes by the title Those Like-Minded, and I think it could mean several things, from how Boruto and Momoshiki are becoming like-minded based on the personality switch, or maybe how Sarada and Sumire are like-minded when it comes to loving Boruto. Well, Momoshiki being on the cover page but not the chapter is intriguing in itself, but I remember a pattern that I had figured out last year regarding how the mascots for the chapter cover art get chosen. Basically, if a character does something exceptional or has a special moment in a chapter, then he would definitely be featured on the cover of the following one. So going by that logic, it's either Daemon or Inojin who will mascot the next chapter, so let's see how it goes. Well, this one begins with Inojin and Himawari, where the lover of Boruto's sister can be seen gifting her some exclusive honey jar, which has already been sold out from the market. A pure gesture of affection which makes Himawari happy, and she thanks Inojin for making this effort, followed by bidding him a farewell. But little does she know that she's not going to meet him for a pretty long time, as Inojin was about to begin a secret mission to keep Himawari safe. Just after leaving the Uzumaki house, a mysterious, unusual toad catches his attention, who then begins to speak and puts forward several questions. The toad, which is controlled by Kashin Koji, tells him that he already knows the answers and just needs a confirmation. Well, this reveals a huge thing about Koji's strategy, and I will get to that in a bit. The communicator toad asks Inojin if he has romantic feelings for Himawari, to which she blushes and turns completely red, which confirms the assumption of Kashin Koji. Well, this instantly brought a question to my mind that I'm sure not many must have thought about. Did we actually have any ships in Naruto where the couple's age gap was like 3 years? I mean, Inojin is 15 and Hima is just 12, so either it's the first time it's happening in the story or it has happened before. Well, when it comes to Naruto, we have Shikamaru and Temari who have a 3-year age difference, but here the guy was younger than the girl. And there are some other examples like Asuma being a year older than Kuranai, or Sai being a year older than Ino. But honestly, this may be the first time when a couple will have a 3-year age gap, and the guy being the older one. It doesn't actually matter since it's in the context of love as in protectiveness, and not something that Mamushi is planning. So let's just say Inojin is safe from getting beheaded by Boruto. Anyway, back to the chapter. Koji asks Inojin the most important question, which turns him into an unexpected ally of Boruto, which is that if he wants to protect Himawari. Inojin readily said yes, and then he asked for the toad's identity, and that's when Koji says that their interests have aligned, with the next panel showing us Inojin in the secret hideout as he gets teleported with the reverse summoning, similar to how Boruto had reached this place. Here we get to see that Boruto and Koji have somehow got themselves not 1 but 2 chairs, and the streets are saying they stole it from somewhere, but it could also be the abandoned furniture from another hiding place of Orochimaru. Well, like this video if you want the father of Mitsuki to make a comeback into Blue Vortex. So Inojin appears at Koji's base and asks him who are you, which means it was obviously the first time of their meetup. Koji introduces himself as the one fighting to protect the world from the Shinju threat. Inojin, after hearing his name, remembers him as the Kara member, which means Konoha still sees him as that and nothing more. But keeping that aside, Boruto speaks up and tells Inojin that he's not threatening him, but this place has no physical entrance, which means he cannot go out at his own. Well, this definitely sounded like a threat to me, cause how do you expect the other person to react after telling them they are trapped and cannot leave? This doesn't seem like something that Boruto would normally say to a potential ally, giving the first major hint that his personality is getting more like Momoshiki. But to avoid making Inojin shiver out of fear, he assures him that once they are done, he will be sent back. Inojin is surprised to see Boruto, and we finally have the answer to the infamous Prescience mystery. The reason Inojin was at Koji's base was solely for the purpose of aiding them in their next mission. Some people even say Inojin has got a scar on one eye in this sneak peek panel, but I don't think it's anything like that, cause firstly no one can enter this place, and secondly Boruto has no reason to do so unless Inojin plays the Mamushi. Anyway, there's a chance that he could do some training with Kashin Koji in the spare time, with the Prescience ability being the key here. Koji might be able to enhance the potential of Inojin just like what he did with Boruto. Next up, we have the Shinju hideout, where all of the remaining god trees have turned bookworms, focused on reading with full attention. But then comes the twist as we see Jura, arguably the strongest character of the verse, crying yet again. Hidari asked him what's the deal, so he wiped his eyes and continues to tell him that he was reading something that they call a novel. It's a piece of fiction that he underestimated, which succeeded at making him cry. Well, this side of Jura makes me doubt that he would be the final villain of this arc. I personally believe he will be the one to instate his ideologies onto Kawaki, which will make him a shinobi hater, and later the apostle of destruction. Day by day, the Shinju boss is getting more humanized, and I think the complete understanding of love will turn all his motives upside down. Hidari reminds Jura that it's not the first time that he reacted in such a way, and Jura tells him that last time it was Masuri's reaction which fueled his tears. The anger, sadness, and a glimpse of love that she felt for Konohamaru is what made Jura shed some tears. We are then shown Mamushi reading the Playboy magazine type of stuff, while Jura tells Hidari that he learned a lot from Masuri, so is that icky? But Hidari responds to him by saying that's intriguing, and maybe this time he was genuinely concerned about the influence of emotions, unlike last time when Jura told him that he received a compliment from Kawaki. Jura then tells him that they will need more intel to understand and control love, and that's when Mamushi interrupts to say something about the true reason behind why his instincts chose Aida as the target. The Shinju contradicts the notion of Jura that the devouring instincts come from love. Instead, he believes that his body craves to control Aida to take the full possession of her superior genetic information. This isn't just about devouring her, it's about enslaving her, and he concluded by saying the divine trees are bound to thrive like this as a species. Jura likes the thrive analogy and says it's not a bad idea to learn more about love this way. So Mamushi's obsession with Aida comes from the desire of controlling her. Well, the superior genetic information part was the most fascinating to me, cause it could be a reference to her possessing the cells of Shibai. And the first time when Mamushi saw her was when she used the Senringan to spy on the Shinju. So maybe he's amazed by the superior abilities that no normal person possesses, and that's why he wants to enslave her. Well, I would like to mention an old theory of mine that I don't remember posting anywhere, but it makes perfect sense, so hear me out. Aida and her omnipotence are the symbolic equivalent of programming language in the story. If this symbol of programming gets devoured or controlled by another being, let's say Mamushi, it would create a glitch in the matrix, since Aida as a captive of Mamushi could manifest something through her omnipotence that would turn around the whole reality. So if Mamushi succeeds at what he's trying to do, then the chances for Aida using her magic spell again in defense is pretty high, and it would symbolize a glitch in the matrix type of situation, which could make the story of Boruto even more complicated yet interesting. We are then taken to Shikamaru, who had been summoned by the elders in the last chapter. On his way to their place, he gets contacted by Kashin Koji through the mind transmission jutsu of Inojin. He tells them how he's using Inojin to communicate with him, while Shikamaru replies by saying he's going to meet the elders right now. Koji tells him that's exactly why he contacted him, as there is a chance that he will lose his seat as the Hokage. Shikamaru calls it a drag and keeps moving forward. Koji tells him he will keep on giving him some advice and asks him to be careful. Well, I would say this is the time when the next generation would slowly start replacing the old. In the beginning, it was Ino who helped Shikamaru contact Boruto secretly through the mind jutsu. But since she is too afraid to do this, her son Inojin has taken over the place, that too for his love. So as I mentioned earlier, the plan of Kashin Koji must be to use the loud ones of multiple people as their strength to move forward in the Shinju conflict. He had put Sarada in the perfect situation to awaken the Mangenkyo with her love for Boruto being the main fuel to it. Now he's using the same tactic to utilize Inojin, and I won't be surprised if he just goes on with this trope to power up other characters as well. Well, back to the chapter, there is this Kobu guy, the personal assistant of the daimyo, who just proved that why the shinobi system cannot run the world anymore, and maybe the reason behind Kawaki's ninja hatred from the future as well. In a nutshell, the elders asked Shikamaru for the source of his information, which pushed him to begin the sand mission at his own. Koji asked him to not reveal anything, especially about the prescience, and he just does that. And that's when the elders bring in their headcanon that Boruto knows about the Shinju, so he's secretly working with them and is trying to take revenge on Konoha. But Konohamaru interrupts them and explains how Boruto saved his life. Shikamaru tries to stop him, but Koji tells him not to, and that's when the Kubo guy tells Sai to take Konohamaru for questioning that he will conduct himself. Furthermore, he asks them to identify everyone who came in contact with Boruto, just to show no mercy. He then goes on to say that Boruto couldn't escape without internal help, so he will somehow expose the traitor who helped him. Well, judging by his attitude, I low-key feel like he is the first shinobi who would be beheaded by Kawaki. There are several reasons to this. First off, Kubo wants to look into every person who came in contact with Boruto, and this includes Kawaki as well. Secondly, Kawaki deep down knows that all the hate for Boruto is actually pointed at him. It's just because of the omnipotence that he's on the safer side. The amount of brutality that the shinobi world would put on Boruto could ironically become the reason for him to go against them, cause in his eyes, all this hatred is actually projected at him and not Boruto. And if Kubo dares to take him in questioning, well, he would either get killed or simply get sent to another dimension. This could be the click that Kawaki needs to change himself into the destroyer of the ninja world, and it seems like we are now quickly heading into that direction. Next up, we are back at Koji's hideout, where Inojin is concerned about the number of rules being broken, so he questions the duo if they always work like this. He gets told that they are being hunted, so there is no other way out for them, and he also has indulged himself into all this, so now he's equally guilty. Boruto tells him that the enemy will not hold back at any cost, so thinking about rules doesn't make sense, and you need to use your brain to make decisions instead of abiding by the rules. Well, Inojin, as a reply to this, uses the instance of fighting Jura and says that he needs to get more stronger. Both Boruto and Koji ignore this statement, and then we get to the Momoshiki part. So Koji asks Boruto about the deal that he made with Momoshiki, and Boruto replies in a strange manner that he will hold up everything at his end. Koji gets furious at his attitude and tells him to provide an answer. Then we see the enraged side of Boruto as he reveals that he is pissed from the gatekeeping of Koji, and he wants to know that how many people were supposed to die in the Sand Village mission. Koji replies that he only paved the way for Sarada's Mangenkyo Sharingan in order to avoid a future where many people would have been killed. Well, by this statement, it seems like Sarada's Mangenkyo is going to do something big in future, which would save a number of lives. Maybe it will have something to do with its second ability, so it will be worth the wait. We are then taken to Shikamaru again, who updates the situation by revealing that Konohamaru has been taken for questioning and he could be next. Koji tells him that he needs to remain the Hokage for the next mission to go smoothly, which involves defeating Mamushi, who will attack the village in a week from now. He then proceeds to explain his abilities as well as the strategy to defeat him, which becomes a cliffhanger for their sequence. Well, when we look back at Bug and how much he knew about Daemon's ability, it seems like his Shinju counterpart does know the counter to reflection, and if that's true, then maybe Daemon is going to lose the crown of the strongest very soon. Also, Koji never relied on Daemon or even mentioned him, so maybe he will get unveiled as a fraud very soon once the weakness to his power gets revealed. Moving on, we had the girl drama, which escalated pretty quickly, with Aida asking Sarada Sarada and Sumire how they are gonna propose Boruto. Sarada had a more mature answer, while Sumire wanted to do it out of blue. But still she believes that Boruto's feelings matter more than who loves him. This is where Aida catches them red-handed when she asks them how they are able to discuss being in love with someone when they are supposed to be enchanted by her charm. Sarada and Sumire look at each other in shock, and just as Sarada locks eyes with Daemon, he moves his feet and Sarada activates her Mangenkyu, most likely to retaliate. But Daemon quickly jumps behind her and grabs her by the neck, telling her whatever she was trying to do with her infamous Mangenkyu Sharingan is a total waste if she dies before using it. The chapter ends here with a strong cliffhanger, and I have several interpretations for what happened here. First, it could be that Sarada tried to attack Daemon, and if that's the case, then him jumping behind her was likely a precautionary measure, cause in case Sarada had some killing intent right here, then Daemon's ability would have reflected that, making her die in no time. It could even be that she was trying to put Daemon in Genjutsu but failed miserably as Daemon reached for her neck in the blink of an eye. Finally, it seems to me that Aida would ask Daemon to spare them cause she always wanted real friends, and looking at how Sarada and Sumire are not enchanted by her would only make her trust them more. The Sarada will definitely get out alive from here as shown in this sneak peek, and Daemon will also come head to head with Mamushi very soon. So that's it for the review, and if you wanna know how Konoha's destruction and the Jogan's awakening will happen in the story, make sure to check out these videos right now, and I will see you next time.